this is Debbie Z. We're here with Bridge to Breakthrough, and I'm here today with Rosilynn Yoon. Really excited to deep dive into her business. We're going to talk about some successes. We're going to talk about some challenges. So thanks for being here, Rosilynn.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So I like to open these conversations with that vision you had the day that you sat at your kitchen table and decided to launch that business. And I know that's a little bit metaphorical, but all of us had kind of a moment or several months where we're kind of going, I think I'm gonna, I kind of gonna. Now, you may have pivoted your business from that moment, but take us back to that time where you were like, yeah, I'm going to launch this. Tell me what the business looked like then, and then tell me about what it looks like now.
Okay. It was 2018, and I was actually still in my last year of college.
Yeah.
So, just to paint a picture, I had no experience. I had one internship, it was unpaid, and I am a first generation American. So I remember having a conversation with my mom, who doesn't speak English very well. And she was apologizing to me for some reason about how she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't have a network I could tap you into. I don't have connections. Like, I wish I could help you get a job where and first of all, she should not be apologizing for that.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
That's
also,
adorable, though. That's adorable.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
she is my everything. Um, but I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, that's totally fine. I was not worried for some reason. And if anything, I would just create my own job.
Yeah.
And essentially, that's what I did. At the time, I was working at a nail salon and I was talking to people every day. And I was so good at client relationships. And I realized there's so many realtors, there's so many entrepreneurs that I'm talking to every day that could benefit from marketing. And I figured, I'm like, why don't I just do it myself?
Now, were you in
Uh-huh.
school for marketing?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved marketing and business. I really dived into it and I knew that was my passion. I switched my major 5 times. So once I landed on marketing, I'm like, okay, this feels right.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the drive to start my own digital marketing
Yeah.
agency. My whole family is very entrepreneurial. Whether they were successful or not is a different story. And I just remember talking to my brother, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do this. I think I'm gonna start my own agency. And I couldn't sleep that night. When you have an idea and you just like keep taking notes. I actually messaged my best friend and I'm like, I can't get this out of my mind. Like, we need to talk about this. She's in marketing as well. And then next week, I went over to her place. We were not at the kitchen table. We were actually on her porch, and it
Okay.
was pouring rain. We both love rain. Anytime it's raining, since we were in middle school, we'd go out and just lay in the puddle. Kind of strange, but fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just felt so right. And then we looked at each other and we're like, what if we named this agency the Downpour? And there's an intensity behind that. It's also about growth and water and nurturing and nature, and it just felt right at the moment. And that was in 2018, and since then I've had a agency journey, a corporate journey, because I wanted to learn more. And this year I finally committed to the Downpour full time, and I still love the name.
Yeah.
So I think it's
I
gonna
love
stick
that
with
it
me.
also, as a business owner,
Uh-huh.
that's what I want for my business. I
Uh-huh.
want a downpour of clients. I
Ah,
want a downpour of
yes.
success. I
Yes.
want a downpour of
I
that's
love that.
like, yeah, I resonate with that too,
Ah, thank
because
you.
that
Mhm.
is, I feel it resonates with any clients you might work with as well.
Ah, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels right. Everything
Yeah.
felt right.
So what's been the most rewarding part of running your
Uh-huh.
business so far?
Having full control over my time is such a privilege, and I don't think I could ever go back. I
Yeah.
really value, sorry, I live in the city, so you hear the sirens going by maybe.
All good.
Okay. I value quality time with friends and family. I've been trying to hustle, and then I'm like, you know what? I think it's more important to just value your community and your connections. And I feel like having my own business allows me to do that. You know, if I have to take a Friday off to go hang out with my nephew, I'm going to prioritize that. So that
Right.
has been the most rewarding thing, is
Yeah.
just being able to control my schedule and have control over my life. Ultimately, it's also very rewarding to work with my best friend, and I have a network of freelancers that we're all really good friends, and we've all met each other from great projects, and just being able to collaborate
Yeah.
with people that I love is very rewarding as well.
Yeah, I've seen that true wealth is being able to control your time.
Ah, yeah.
That's what true
Mhm.
wealth is, right? When you have the luxury to wake up and decide, obviously we have commitments and things like that, but
Mhm.
metaphorically, when you have the ability to decide
Yeah.
Tuesday's going to be a work day, no,
Mhm.
it's not going to be a work day.
Exactly. And you know, I used to be like, I want to be Forbes 30 under 30. I want to be a millionaire by 30, blah blah blah. Don't even really care for that at the
Yeah.
moment. I think if I have enough to exactly have control over my time, I feel very wealthy just
Yeah.
being at
I had
that
a
point.
client that was moving from coaching to consulting, right? So, in
Mhm.
my mind, the definition of coaching is where you help someone take action to do something. And
Mhm.
consulting is more collaborative, where you
Mm.
might be getting your fingers dirty in the business. I shouldn't say dirty, fingers
Mhm.
into the business, and you're
Mhm.
taking action. You're creating reports, you're creating processes, you're helping with the implementation. Neither here nor there, but he wanted to move. His
Mhm.
perception was if he moved from coaching to consulting, he could charge more.
Mm.
And we navigated that first year together where he shifted to consulting and he was making more. And he says, they own me.
Oh.
They call me 24/7,
Mhm.
365 because they're paying me more money.
Mhm.
And he says, I'm going to go back to coaching and take Fridays off and go skiing with my son on Fridays.
Oh.
So
Hallelujah.
after the end of that year,
Uh-huh.
we rewound, and he
Uh-huh.
says, I can bring on clients at 3,000 a month. I can
Mhm.
bring on 10 clients. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not making $1 million. I'm making 300. I'm only working 4 days a week and only partially Monday to
Yeah,
Friday, Monday to Thursday.
absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. There's nothing
That's a good
wrong with though
example.
wanting to be that 30 under 30. But
You're
again,
right.
what are you
Mhm.
trading? You're trading
Exactly.
time.
Mhm.
You're
Yes.
trading time. I
Yeah.
like to say that when
Mhm.
everybody sat at their kitchen table and launched their business, they had a vision, maybe not of wealth, but they had a vision of ease. Maybe it's
Ah.
not driving
Uh-huh.
the expensive cars and taking vacations to Tahiti, but they certainly didn't envision 60-hour work weeks where they don't get to breathe. They saw, I'm going to be generating some money and I'm not going to have as many problems.
Mhm.
And there's the whole scope from, you know, being able to take Fridays off to being 30 under 30. And all of them are fine. We just have to decide what that vision is for us.
Exactly. Yeah, everyone's vision is different.
Yeah.
Have you heard Steve Jobs's like last words or like
I
lessons
have,
before he
and
died?
I actually
Uh-huh.
quote his Stanford address
Uh-huh.
because he talks about following your dream and the fact that he took a calligraphy class in college
Oh.
that made no sense
Uh-huh.
unless you fast forward that when he's designing the Mac, he wants the customer to be able to choose the font that showed up on their computer and how they printed things, right? The
Oh,
calligraphy connects there.
wow.
Didn't
Uh-huh.
make any sense then, but
Uh-huh.
it made sense there. And I
Yes,
have seen
I've
that
seen
kind of
that.
speech, but I don't recall which part
Mhm.
you're
He just
referencing.
talks about any regrets that he's had, and the main one being he wish he spent more time with his family. I'm like, Damn.
There have
Yeah.
been some palliative care nurses that have written books that says that's
Uh-huh.
a pretty common. Nobody said I wished I worked more. Nobody. None.
Mhm.
Never.
Mhm. Yeah.
Nobody says I wished I took my $1 million company to a five. Nobody. They all say exactly what you just said, which is
Mhm.
I wish I didn't place so much emphasis and I laughed more or I danced more or I played
Yeah.
more or I spent more time with people that I loved. Yeah,
Mm.
that's a great
Beautiful.
reminder.
Yeah.
Um, Tell me about a
Mhm.
challenge you faced in this, growth of your business that felt
Mhm.
like a roadblock at the time.
A reoccurring challenge for me is structure. I
Okay.
think I adapt and I love change. I'm very flexible, which is all good for business. But
Hmm.
at the same time, I lack structure. Because I'm so, oh, go with the flow, maybe I should be waking up at 7 every day or 6 and going to the gym and having that structured schedule, but I don't operate like that. And
Yeah.
sometimes that hurts me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find that balance. That's always been a challenge of mine. And I don't know how you feel. I'm still learning how to be a better delegator. I think naturally, I hope. I hope I'm a good leader because I love listening. But as far as like, oh, what can they do or like what can I do to optimize time?
Right.
Because a lot of people in marketing, they are like a jack of all trades, you know? So I could do everything on my own, but it's like, what and how do I delegate has been a bit
Yeah.
challenging for me. So I'm still figuring that out. I think each time I collaborate, I learn more about how to do that.
Well, experience is the best teacher, right? Not,
Mm-hmm.
people think leaders are born, but leaders are in fact grown. Now, you might
Mm-hmm.
be
I
born
agree.
with an outgoing personality and leadership potential, and you
Mm-hmm.
may have had parents that really talk about leadership or teach leadership, or a mentor, a school teacher, or a someone that you met as you're growing up that
Mm-hmm.
kind of nurtured that in you. But my experience in leadership for the last 40 years is it's 100% absolutely a skill that anybody can learn. There
Yeah.
are clear leadership tenets
Mm-hmm.
that can be learned. Unfortunately, the best teacher is experience.
Yeah.
But you have already nailed the most important thing around growth. Many of us have experiences, but if we don't ask ourselves the question, what can I learn about this collaboration? What went
Ah,
well? We don't do
uh-huh.
any reflection post
Uh,
experience.
uh-huh.
We don't do any learning.
For
And then we
sure.
have to hit our head against the wall 17 times before we kind of go, oh, wait, that's
Mm-hmm.
not working well.
Yes.
Um, the key to leadership or the key to growth or the key to delegation is
Mm-hmm.
to, in that experience, sit back at the end of the experience, either with the other person or alone, and say, what went well?
Yep.
What didn't go well? And here's the key question: what could I have done differently? I
For
can't
sure.
control what you do and experience. You were always late. You were always,
Mhm.
not turning in. I need these three assets from you by X, and you were always
Mhm.
dragging your feet.
Mhm.
I can't really affect that. But what I can do is at the beginning of the relationship, I could say, let me talk about my expectations.
Yep.
Everything I do is dependent on things that you do. So when I ask for content or copy or images or whatever, I can't move forward in the project until I get them. And I get that you're busy and I get that you have other things that you're doing. But can I get an agreement from you that you're going to be really timely with deliverables? I'll do
Mhm.
everything in my power to remind you, hey, you said you wanted, we're going to have the images by Friday. It's Tuesday or it's Wednesday. Quick reminder.
Mhm.
But in order for this partnership to work really well, I need your commitment that you're going to fight to hit deadlines. And if
Yeah.
you're willing to do that, look, I'm tolerant. Something comes up unexpected, super cool. But I can't move the project forward until I get the thing. So can we have an agreement?
Mhm.
Sure. And what do they say? Of course. Sure. Okay, I'm going to ask you one additional permission. Can I call you out if I find that you are not living up to your end of the agreement? Sure. And here's what I want to offer you. I want you to call me out if I'm not meeting your expectations. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
You only learn that by hitting your head up against the wall a handful of times with people dragging their feet. And here's the beauty: when you set that expectation in the beginning, it is so much easier to have that
Oh, yeah.
conversation when
And
they start
uh-huh.
missing deadlines. Hey,
Uh-huh.
listen, I said we could get this done by Thursday, but if
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep getting these assets that are needed, then I can't hit that deadline
For
because
sure.
I'm not going to work through the night because you didn't hit the deadlines that you promised you would hit.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And luckily, I work with great people, and deadlines, I mean, not, I've caught myself like, oh, this is why companies have an onboarding doc.
Right.
Or like, okay, this is why they do this. I've caught myself saying that. And in my onboarding doc, I go over my values as well. Because if we're in a meeting and you are being condescending or you're not listening to the client, I don't call anyone out, but I just say, I really value listening. I value being empathetic, optimistic, hear the client out, you know. So I try to bake some of my values in there as well, because I think when your values align with the people that you're working with, it has been much easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you've had the great wisdom. Oh, that's why people do onboarding docs.
Uh-huh.
So coach business owners and they get so frustrated that I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand why I'm continuing to have this problem. And I'm like, well, it's because you didn't set expectations in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you say, well, this is the way we're going to do it now,
Mm-hmm.
and then you catch someone not doing it the right way, and
Yep.
you don't call them out, you give them permission to not adhere to a standard that you've set. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
standards aren't really standards,
Yeah,
right? And so it's about setting those expectations, and that's the value of an onboarding doc. I
for
love that
sure.
you include your values
Yeah.
because you're
And
basically
uh-huh.
saying, this is who I am, and this is what I value, and this is what's important to me. I
Yes.
very often will have, on a scale of 1 to 10, how
Mm-hmm.
honest do you want me to be with you?
Ooh, that's nice. I
That's a good
see.
one.
I should add that.
That's a good one. That is
Yeah,
a
that's
great one
uh-huh.
because most people will say 8 or 9, but
Uh-huh.
most people are super reflective. And I've had people say, well, you can be an 8, but can you be really nice about it?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah,
What they're
of
saying
course.
is, don't hit
Uh-huh.
me over the head with, you're late. We can't do that anymore.
Totally.
Hey, I
Mm-hmm.
noticed there's been a tendency that you've been showing up consistently. So cool. No big deal. But it's really important to me. I carve out this day. And that's fine. I can do
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, we had an expectation we were going to start on time. And I
Mm-hmm.
noticed you've been late.
Yes.
Both of those equally fine. But when they
Totally.
say, can you be
Uh-huh.
nice about it? I get it. They don't want to be made to feel wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But what that does is I can deliver bad news. Hey, I said we were going to be done Thursday. Servers went down. Apologies. Not going to hit the Thursday deadline. You said I could be right now. I have permission to come right to you with a problem and say,
Mm-hmm.
here's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah.
the truth of what's happening. You can be upset about it. You can be disappointed. You can be irate. But we talked about at the beginning about, right? You wanted me to come. And of course,
Uh-huh.
I usually will say, remember at the beginning, we talked about honesty. I have some bad news that I need to share with you. And I wanted to come right to you today. I found out this morning and I wanted to come right away because we have this agreement to be. If we can be honest about what's happening, we can solve the problems together.
Yeah. I always say, I'm like, you can be straightforward without being an asshole.
You can. Yeah,
You know?
you can. You
You
don't have to be
can.
a jerk about it. I
Yeah.
have what I
Uh-huh.
call the jerk firing policy. That's not what it
Uh-huh.
says in my onboarding document, but it is the here's unacceptable behavior and,
Absolutely.
and
I agree
grounds
with
for
you.
dismissal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I
And like
also
you
talk
say,
about
uh-huh.
why they might not want to be working with me, why they
A
might want to.
thousand percent.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
here's how we break up. I heard one time everybody has prenup agreements because getting divorced is harder than getting married.
Uh-huh. 1,000. Yep.
You need the exit plan
Yeah.
before you have an entrance plan.
I'm all for prenups.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm team prenup, even
Yeah.
though I'm not even married, but.
So what
And
inspires you in tough times?
oh, wow.
Like,
This is so cheesy, but anytime someone says, "What inspires you?" I say everything. I everything. I'm looking outside my window at a tree right now, and I have practiced mindfulness and being present for years.
yeah.
And that has changed my life. I
Yeah.
I apologize. This is kind of becoming a wellness podcast. But at the same time, well, first of all, I've journaled since as long as I can remember, and
Mhm.
that helps me reflect and it
Mhm.
helps me process my thoughts. It has helped me with my anxiety. It has helped me in every aspect of my life,
Yeah.
journaling, and I depend on it for my sanity. But through journaling, I have just found presence. I find presence when I run. I'm a dancer. I dance, and sometimes I literally just count. And I ground myself. You mentioned you were doing the grounding yoga. I love that because sometimes I just pay attention to where my feet are.
Yeah.
And I know your initial question was, where do you find inspiration? I just kind of stop and I try to look around me, maybe go to the park and just get fresh air,
Mhm.
take a walk.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think a lot of mindfulness and presence has helped me stay inspired or recharge my inspiration.
Yeah. Well, every entrepreneur, every business owner needs that, right? We all need
Mhm.
tools in order to be able to move through the challenging times. And some of
Mhm.
us have developed a strong toolbox, and some of us are still putting the toolbox together.
Mhm.
Um, and
And
so I
then
think
uh-huh.
you're saying it's a wellness. I'm thinking this is a
Yeah,
business podcast, and we
absolutely.
need
Yes.
tools because
Mhm.
sometimes it feels like we go from crisis to crisis to crisis to crisis or problem to problem. And if we
Mhm.
don't have ways to recenter ourselves, that's what causes burnout. That's what causes
1,000%.
breakdowns. That's what causes partners breaking up
Mhm.
because the stress is real. And if
Yes.
we don't have ways to process through that,
Yeah,
then it metastasizes and becomes a bigger problem. So
for
I
sure.
think that's a critical component, a
Thank
critical
you.
skill
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
entrepreneurs do develop over time, but
Mhm.
we're always looking to expand our toolbox.
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes a business problem is a mindset problem or I my tagline, and I would love your feedback because I am evolving my tagline. But it used to be something about like where mindset and business live as one, or I'm not sure, but I think that's my competitive edge is you have to develop your personal growth and yourself if you want to grow your business, I think.
yeah,
Mhm.
growth is growth, right? And it has
Yep.
to happen personally and professionally.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
love it. However, I do have an opinion.
Mhm.
Um, the problem with the word mindset
Mhm.
is if I don't know that my mindset's off,
Ah, uh-huh.
that's what the weird thing. So I like
Interesting.
it,
Yeah. No,
but
that's
for
a
the
great point.
general public,
Uh-huh.
where personal growth and business growth meet, right?
Uh-huh.
Because people know what personal growth is, but
Uh-huh.
mindset, I don't. If it's a mindset issue, I have to be able to have a reflection tool or an ability or a
Uh-huh.
coach or somebody or a therapist that goes, "Hey, you're
Right.
thinking incorrectly." And
Uh-huh.
sometimes that's difficult for us to figure out ourselves. We almost need a reflection
Totally.
in order to be able to see that, oh my gosh, I'm thinking small-minded. I didn't realize
Mhm.
until I said that out loud.
Mhm.
So I love the word mindset, but
Mm. Mhm.
I don't think that resonates with the population as a whole. But
Uh-huh.
personal growth and professional growth meet,
I
or
love
personal
that.
growth and business growth meet.
Uh-huh.
People know what personal growth is. People know
Uh-huh.
what business growth is.
Yes.
People don't really know what mindset is.
Yeah. And I appreciate your feedback so
Yeah.
much. And I'm actually, I'm like, maybe it's growth that I'm
Yeah.
centered around. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to move my messaging to that. So
Yeah.
you just gave me more reassurance.
I'm a coach and I can't help but coach everywhere I go
No,
in every single conversation.
I cornered you for
That's
free
great.
advice.
I'm
So
glad.
you
I
could
love it.
invoice me after.
Yeah. Awesome. So if you could go back to your early days, what advice
Uh-huh.
would you give yourself?
Oh, wow. I've been asked this question before, and I actually really liked my answer that time, so I'm going to repeat it because I stand by
Excellent.
it.
Excellent.
I would flip that. I think my younger self could teach me something now. Because when I was younger, and I'm referring to like 6 through 10, I was fearless. I was so outgoing. I would dance on the street. I would ask people if I could perform for them. I was so out there. I don't really know how else to describe it. And she still lives within me, but I think as I've gotten older, I'm just more aware of how I look and what people think about me. I'm fairly good when it comes to those two things, but I am not nearly as bold and fearless as I was when I was younger. So I think my younger self could teach me something now.
Oh, I love that. I got goosebumps when you said that. I was like, oh my God,
Really?
I was riding my bike and doing wheelies and I can
Exactly.
remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I need to bring more of her back at that
Yes,
time.
kids are tapped into something else, man, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, we're not we don't yet recognize that other
Yes.
people's opinions can affect us.
Uh-huh, and the dangers of the world.
And the danger,
Yep.
right? Where we if we're lucky, we got to live in a fairly sheltered environment and we got the opportunity to free express that. Some kids
Mhm.
don't have that opportunity, but if you were lucky enough to be able to live
Mhm.
in that environment, it's a great reminder.
For sure.
What's one thing about your journey that you think people misunderstand?
Wow. That I've never been asked. Um, huh. Kind of have to think about that. A part of my journey that people misunderstand?
Yeah. Or the
Mhm.
entrepreneurial journey or being
Mhm.
in marketing, you can take it as
Mhm.
wide or
Uh-huh.
narrow.
I
Or
think for marketers in general, especially social media marketers, because I specialized in social media strategy for a bulk of my career, is
Mhm.
how much work goes into it. I am, and I hope social media managers out there are like, Amen. I hear you, sister. Because you have to design, you have to write, edit videos, you have to post, engage with the community. And people underestimate it because we're always posting on our own social channels, and they're like, oh, your job is social media? How fun. I'm like, no,
No,
it
it's work. Yeah.
burns you out. Uh-huh. And writing for a business is entirely different than writing for yourself.
Hmm.
So I think there are marketing responsibilities that people underestimate. And they're
Yeah.
like, why is it X amount of dollars when you're only doing this? It's like,
Yeah.
well, there is so much research that goes into it. And an example is some when I work remote at my mom's house, love her. But she's like, "Oh, you want to go shopping? Can you make this call for me? Can you do this? Can you respond to this?" I'm like, "Woman, I am working." But it looks like I'm messing around.
Yeah.
you know? So I think it's yeah. I think just the
I
job
work
role.
with a lot of coaches as
Uh-huh.
well,
Uh-huh.
and they're struggling to fill their rosters. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, what's been your lead generation strategy? And they're like, well, I post on social media. And I'm like, because they're not
Mhm.
marketers, they don't understand funnels, they don't
Right.
understand moving people off
Awareness
platform
to
to email
conversion.
lists. And
Uh-huh.
I said, listen, you absolutely need to be on social media because
Mhm.
it's the long game. And if you don't start now, you're not
Mhm.
going to find the results. I said,
Mhm.
but you need to figure out how to have more conversations every day with
Uh-huh.
people that are your ideal clients. So for most business coaches, they need to go network. They need to go out and talk to business owners, and they need to have
Totally.
conversations.
Mhm.
They need to be on podcasts. They
Mhm.
need more exposure, because
Mhm.
posting on social media is great if you have a great marketing strategy. Meaning, I've done the research. I know where my target market is. I know how to reach them. I know the messaging that's going to resonate with them. I have
Mhm.
an engagement process. I have a tracking process. I have a follow-up process. I'm moving them off platform to my email. I have a great offer. And all of those, nobody, the business community as a whole says, can you get me leads by posting on social one?
Yes.
No,
A
no.
1000%. Yeah.
It's a funnel, but they don't
Uh,
understand that, right? And like you
uh-huh.
said, hopefully the social media managers out there are
Uh-huh.
educating the public. Gone are the
Mhm.
days, you're too young for this, but you can't put an ad in the Sunday paper and
Mhm.
get 15 customers into your
No way.
store.
Mhm.
Social media, you can't put up one post and
Uh-uh.
get 15 customers the next week. The
Mhm.
funnels have changed,
The
and
funnels
business
have
owners aren't
changed.
aware of that. So I love that
Mhm.
you're doing that, because as someone who works with business owners, I see
Mhm.
that struggle for them in, I'm posting on social media, but I don't know why I'm not getting more clients.
Oh man. Yeah.
But you
Especially
have to be a
uh-huh.
marketer to understand that,
Absolutely.
which is
Yeah.
why I'm like, go hire somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Right? You don't
And
have to be an
improve
expert
your
at everything.
product. You
You need
know?
to be good at finding people that can help you do what you need to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think marketing in general is underestimated sometimes because
Well,
it
it's
looks so
mysterious.
polished.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So what brings you the most joy in your business?
Ah, wow. Learning, actually. I don't specialize in a specific niche or industry.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked for land surveying clients, financial institutions, beauty brands, health and wellness, education, and that is very broad.
Yeah.
But I think the part that I love most is diving into an industry because ultimately consumer behavior is the same. You know, like marketing, I forget who said this, but marketing is basically business psychology. It might have been you.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe I don't know.
That is something that I would
um,
say. Yeah.
some conversation I had this week. Um, I love solving problems and I just love learning. I
Yeah.
love learning about consumers and why they're feeling the way they do, why they buy the things they do. Most of it is very emotional. Um, yeah, it's just very fascinating. And then you find that we are all very similar, you know? Like even if I'm like looking through like a marketing what is that? Like a study or a survey that's been done. I'm always shocked at how many responses are the same of people that live across the country. And especially now, I think it's a good reminder that we do have similarities, you know? Like deep
Right.
down, we feel and process things similarly.
Hmm.
Um, but it's all very fascinating to me. I think every day I get to learn something new,
Yeah.
being a business owner and being in this industry.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's been amazing.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today. This
Yay!
has been great.
Oh,
Where
thank
can
you.
our audience find you?
Mhm.
How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I would love if you connected with me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And if you have any marketing questions, feel free to message me them. My mission is to make business and marketing more accessible.
Hmm.
And that's through democratizing resources, free workshops, giving out free advice. So please don't hesitate to just shoot a question my way, even if you're like, hey, this agency said that they want to do this for me. Like, do you think it's a good idea? Or I'm very open just to say hi, have a conversation. So don't be shy.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is where I will send you right now.
Awesome. Well, this
Yeah.
has been
Thank
another
you, Debbie.
episode
Uh-huh.
of Bridge to Breakthrough, and you can follow us wherever you like to consume podcasts. We're on YouTube and we're on all the major platforms. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes with business owners finding their bridge to breakthrough. Thanks so much for being with me today, Rosilynn.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. This was great. Thank you so much.